Journey to the Savage Planet begins with promise and a lot of personality, but a muddled focus on several disjointed gameplay elements, repetitive mission design and a truly dreadful final boss make it a journey you wish ended sooner than its brief runtime. I can't remember the last time I had such a polar opposite reaction to a game's opening and closing hour. Journey to the Savage Planet opens with you crashing onto an unknown planet, accompanied only by a talkative AI and a task to research the world. The game makes a great first impression with witty dialogue, a catchy soundtrack and colourful visuals. A lot of the game's personality shines through immediately through the full motion video clips that play aboard your ship. These include messages from the company that sent you on this doomed mission, as well as adverts from back on Earth. These have an Eric Andre show energy and are probably my favourite parts of the game. I wish there were a few more of them, but considering the game was developed by a small team, what is there is fantastic and do a much better job of delivering exposition than the endless text logs. Although, of course, those are in here as well. You're introduced to scanning the wildlife, how resources work, and you're given the objective to refuel your ship. As I began to explore the opening area, scanning every piece of flora and fauna I came across, I imagined the game was headed in a Pokemon Snap-like direction, a collection game set in an interesting landscape. However, once the game introduced its combat, I started to worry. The shooting is weightless and inaccurate, the hitboxes of the enemies you'll encounter vary wildly, and in one instance at the end of the game, stopped working entirely until the creature fell through the geometry. Here was one of the many instances the game reminded me of No Man's Sky, and unfortunately not the current, much better version. The gun is weak and the components required to upgrade it simply don't drop at a rate that wouldn't require copious grinding in the early game. Your goal quickly becomes climbing to the top of a large tower within which a signal has been discovered. This is obviously not as easy as simply walking up to the front door, or the game would have been even shorter than the 6 hours it took me to see credits. On your detour, you'll encounter new abilities and items that can help you access previous areas, although most of these lead to non-essential collectibles. Even after doing several of these, I was far understocked in resources for some of the later upgrades. Another issue is that finding these areas or returning to areas you previously couldn't access is a pain because there isn't a map. This seems like a glaring omission, especially considering the theme of the game is exploration and research. Should I be so inclined to complete their Pokédex? What am I supposed to do? Commit the map to memory or scratch it into my desk with a nail file? Surely there's a simpler option. One bright spark is the game's writing. Your AI companion is charming and made me laugh out loud on more than one occasion, but where the humour really shines through is in the video messages that play on your ship. From adverts for sex lines hosted by something that looks like a week-old supermarket lasagna, to a build-your-own capitalism simulator. These adverts made me stop what I was doing and watch them every single time I returned to the ship. The environment itself is also enjoyable to explore. The terrain is varied and colourful, although occasionally it does become somewhat unclear as to how to proceed. This is brought into focus with the quest tracker, which is simply an icon on a compass. This isn't great about denoting exactly which route you should take, particularly in the more vertically diverse sections. The game is split into 3 main areas, with the final of these being a series of floating islands that must be traversed with a grappling hook straight out of a PS2 game. The grappling hook feels like an addition made to accompany the idea of a floating environment, rather than adding actual texture to gameplay, as it's never used in combat. My main issue is that the game feels like it would be much better if it had no gun at all. The combat element is incredibly weak and serves only as a frustrating chore to break up the exploration of the world. There are a few boss fights throughout which should have been cut entirely. They rely on platforming and shooting simultaneously, and the game can barely handle one of those at a time, meaning trying to execute on both is a tedious mess. The final hour, and more specifically the final boss of the game, is some of the most infuriating, plodding and lethargic time I've spent in a game recently. The final room takes forever to traverse through, and it's completely unclear as to what you're actually supposed to do, leading me to scrape every inch of the muddy, enemy-littered room to find the thing to shoot at that would let me proceed. Once that ball ache is over for the 3rd time, you're dropped into the final boss room, which is completely uninspired and antithetical to the rest of the game. I genuinely thought this was a fake boss that would die in one hit only to reveal the actual boss, but no, that's what they were going with. The feeling of, is that it, was overwhelming. The elements in Journey to the Savage Planet that I disliked the most felt like they were the result of focus testing. Like the team set out with the idea of a creature profiling game set in a lush environment, but they got completely lost in the weeds of a combat system that's subpar, boss fights that are a waste of time, and a final boss that's so boring, needlessly difficult and anticlimactic that it feels like it was taken directly from a very different, much less promising game. Witty writing and great FMV mean there is some redemption to be found on your journey, but for me it was a journey that after only a couple of hours couldn't end quick enough. Thanks for watching this review of Journey to the Savage Planet. Let me know if you're interested in the game in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to BBC The Social Gaming, and until next time, I'm Jordan Midler. See you later.